Hey, how's it going guys? Captain Kuba here, and today I'm back with one of my favorite topics of the channel, discussing and theorizing about cut content from God of War games. I'm sure I'm not the only one who enjoys thinking about what could have been in favorite movies and games. A well-known fanbase complains so much on Twitter that they actually made history. Now, I'm not asking the God of War fanbase to ready the hashtags and demand Santa Monica Studios to release something like the cut level of Sparta from God of War 2. I understand that games are different from movies, and a lot of the unused work always finds its way back in the series one way or another. But with that said, I still think it's really fun to speculate what the game could have looked like if they were kept in. And for today's video, I'm not just talking about a cut enemy or a cut level. I'm gonna be discussing the time Santa Monica Studios was seriously considering changing Kratos for a completely new character, and maybe adding a new mode with the very famous goddess of Olympus,
Artemis.
During Santa Monica's 20-year anniversary, the team shared some of the studio's most memorable art from the God of War series. These included regular art from the games to the rare napkin drawing of Kratos made by Charlie Wynn. Apparently he didn't have a sketchbook while having a creative vision for the character of Kratos, so he drew it on a napkin and brought it to a meeting, and that's the version of Kratos that made it into the final game. I would honestly pay up to $1,000 to own that napkin drawing. But as interesting as all of these drawings are, the one regarding God of War Ascension is by far the most important one to talk about, because if Santa Monica Studios would have gone with this direction, who knows what could have happened to the series. This is what Eric San Juan said, a former concept artist from Santa Monica Studios. During pre-production for God of War Ascension, the concept team had a month of blue sky design time where we would toss around crazy ideas. With the mysterious fate of Kratos at the end of God of War 3, we knew we wanted to give him a successor, a new hero who would go looking for him. Not unlike the most recent entry in the series, we imagined that he had a hidden daughter and began sketching ideas for what she would look like. Here was my only contribution to the team with a tattoo design on her face. It's hard to believe, but there's still a huge chunk of Kratos' life that we don't know much about. Of course there's that time in his life where he was working his way up the Spartan ranks, but most importantly, we don't know what happened during the 10 years of servitude to the gods of Olympus. We only know of Kratos' mission during the events of Chains of Olympus, and his final mission to the gods during the events of God of War 1. But there's still a lot of time in between those two missions that we don't know anything about. It's very possible Santa Monica was thinking of giving Kratos a daughter during these 10 years of servitude, since that's the time Kratos engaged in a lot of quote-unquote mini-games, and one of his soldiers might have broken through a lady's defenses. Eric also mentions that his daughter would have been searching for Kratos since he disappeared after God of War 3. She might have been motivated to look for his father out of the goodness of her heart, but I have a feeling that Santa Monica would have stuck with the theme of vengeance, since this character would have been abandoned by Kratos when she was only a child. By going with this direction, it's possible the team was exploring the idea of Kratos being the villain of the game, resulting in a Kratos boss fight for the final confrontation. It's very unlikely that Santa Monica will ever circle back to this idea, since they're already covering the events of what happened after God of War 3 and Fallen God. It would also make this story convoluted since we still need to know what happened to Calliope before moving on to a completely new character. Bottom line, Santa Monica decided not to go down this route and instead played it safe by giving us a prequel story of Kratos. However, all of this hard work did not go to waste, because Santa Monica used these drawings to design the Amazonian enemies from the game. I'm sure no God of War fan is crying about Kratos' daughter being cut from the game, but the next story just might make you cry. During the interview, Eric also confirmed that the team was exploring the idea of having Artemis be a playable character. Now, I've known about this for a while now, but I didn't want to make a video before getting more information, so I spent 150 Canadian dollars on the God of War Ascension art book in the hopes of finding more information and making this video even more awesome, and I can honestly say that it paid off. So if you're thankful for my dedication to my content, always remember to like and share my videos, and if you're feeling generous, you can always become a member, just saying. Anyway, what did the art book say in regards to Artemis? Well, it turns out that during the pre-production stage of the game, Santa Monica was aiming for a much more ambitious goal. Originally, the game was going to have a single-player, multiplayer, and a co-op adventure. So the team explored different ideas for playable characters such as gods, monsters, and demigods, but the one that jumped out to the director the most was the goddess Artemis. She was going to be half woman, half lion. During gameplay, this would give her the ability to climb places that someone like Kratos could not, making her much more agile in the process. In the sketches, we also see her talking to Kratos, as well as using a weapon that looks very similar to the Blades of Chaos. This makes me think there was going to be a mechanic that would allow players to exchange weapons during combat scenarios, but sadly, we'll never know for sure. Like I said before, this co-op adventure resonated a lot with Todd Pappy, but sadly it had to be scrapped from the game due to the character's animation not looking realistic, and the team finding out that just having single player and multiplayer was going to be difficult enough. Adding the co-op adventure would be impossible to accomplish. It's hard to say when this co-op adventure between Artemis and Kratos would be placed in the God of War timeline, but I suspect this might have been one of the first missions the gods of Olympus gave Kratos during the start of his long servitude. It's truly a shame that Santa Monica had to cut this mode. I would have honestly preferred a co-op adventure over a multiplayer mode any day of the week. But maybe I'm in the minority, since I don't really like multiplayer games. But let me know in the comment section below which one would you prefer. But there you have it guys, the story of how Santa Monica Studios almost changed the course of God of War history by introducing a new character and a new co-op mode with a playable Artemis. Things that never make it into games is always going to seem better than what we got in the final product. And maybe that's because psychologically we inject those ideas with things we already like. But at the end of the day, the team decided these cuts were necessary, so ultimately we have to trust they made the right decision and hope we'll see them again in the future. But definitely let me know in the comment section below your thoughts about a game with an unknown daughter of Kratos as the protagonist, or a co-op game with Artemis. As always, I want to thank all of my members for their monthly support of the channel. People like KurtDog17, Kevin Dorothy, and Paranoid Bears, to name a few, are the reason I'm still able to upload these videos. So if you like the content, consider hitting the blue join button and gain access to a few cool perks such as exclusive streams. I would also like to thank everyone who likes and shares my videos. It doesn't seem like much, but it really does help. And with that said, thanks for watching, and remember, go forth in the name of Ragnarok.